Hi guys, welcome to your second XCode tutorial. In the first tutorial we covered pretty much just an introduction to XCode. Now for the rest of the tutorials, from 2 to however many we create, you need to know number 1. But for example, if you watch the 4th tutorial, you don't need to worry about 3 and 2 necessarily. But for this tutorial, it's best to know a bit about XCode, so I do recommend watching this. It's a 15-minute video, but well worth it. You'll find out a lot. Just go onto our channel. So once you're on the video, just go onto our channel. Yeah, okay. Now let's get into today's tutorial, which is switching screens, which is a very important one. In iOS, in Xcode 4.3. Whatever this one is, 4.3.2 I think it is, there's already a default template for switching view. But obviously you might want to do it a few times, in which case you do need to know how to do it. So create a single view, which will just be a single view. And as we did last time, if you've got storyboard selected, unselect it. Keep these other two, don't touch them. Let's just make it iPhone. You can do universal, makes no difference really. And we'll call this switch screen. And then you want to save it in, I'm going to save it into my documents. I'm just going to take this slowly because I don't want you to have to be pausing and playing this, so I won't go too fast, so you should be able to keep up the pace. I suggest just typing it out and getting it all done, and then you can look over the code at the end. And I will, if this video gets over 100 views, so just tell your friends, post it to Facebook, whatever, I will publish the source code. And also be sure to check out our website for more info, the link's in the description. Okay, let's get started. Begin by deselecting landscape left and landscape right. You can select upside down if you want. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to keep it unselected. Makes no difference really. And keep portrait. I explained all that in the last tutorial. Put the deployment target to 5. Or put it to anything under 5.1. I'm going to do 5. All of this stuff, again, I explained it last tutorial. There's no need in this tutorial to add any libraries. So we can ignore that. And again, ignore the app delegate. So just go into your view controller. Obviously, if we have a view and we want to switch to another view, we need to add another view. And I went over this briefly in the last tutorial, but not properly. So let me start this. So select the folder where your app delegate and your view controller is located, which you might need to press the arrow next to your main project folder. And right click on that. And then click New File. Select Objective-C class, then make sure you do a subclass of a UI view controller. And the class here, in older versions of Xcode, this will come up a bit differently. So just update Xcode. It's about 20-minute download. Just update it from the App Store. It's free and everything. XIB for user interface, or nib for the user interface. And since we've made this an iPhone app, we don't want to use iPad nib. Let's call it view 2, and it's best not to use numbers actually, particularly first. I did the number 2 and then view, that wouldn't work. You need to so just use the letters. It's not much harder, and it'll make sure your project all runs properly, because otherwise, just don't touch any of this by default, it will go into your Xcode project folder, so just like that. But then in terms of the numbers, the problem is it might then recognize them as numbers rather than a string or a name of the file. Anyway, in here, this is our second view. By default, it's gone into the nib, otherwise just go into view2.xib and double click on this to change the text, and I'm just going to make this back. And to switch to view 2 and to go back, there is different code, because I'll explain that in a moment, but essentially, if you use the same code, what you'd be doing is you'd have view 1, and then you'd open view 2, and then you'd open view 1 again, and then you'd open view 2 again. What you need to do instead is you need to go view 1, then open view 2, and then close view 2. So go back. That's important, because otherwise you'll have heaps of errors in your projects. Took me a while to learn that, and it was a big problem. It was a big issue, and I couldn't find any tutorials on how to fix that. So you just got to remember that, and yeah, that's essential. Alright, then let's go into our view controller, our main one, and we should add the button first. So add a button, and this button, make it anything you want. I'm just going to say go to screen 2. And then do a duplicate editor. I'm going to just close this view here. And all you need to be able to do is see the button. Just do a curly bracket at the end of your view control and press enter. If you're running the right version of Xcode, so the newest one, it'll automatically insert the second one. What you can do, and this is again if you're running the newest version of Xcode, otherwise just copy the code once it's created and then go into File Zone and right click on that and drag it to the button. But what you'll do is you'll right click or control click on the button and this blue line should appear. Drag it into the end of the curly bracket just above at end. And we want it to be an action, not an outlet. So an outlet will be if we want to hide the button, we need the button's outlet, but we want an action here. And let's just call this switch screen, and that's the name of the action. Okay, here's all the different types of events. So touch up inside means I clicked on it and then I let go. Touch up outside just means I clicked on it, so I don't have to then let go. And then there's a whole lot here. Fiddle around. Don't worry about did end on exit for the buttons yet. But touch drag exit means you click on the button, then you drag your finger outside of the buttons. And that can be useful if you want to use gestures and you don't know how to use the gestures. I just use that. I don't use gestures much because they are a bit complex. We'll do tutorials on them in the future though, so up to you. But you just have a fiddle around with them pretty much. You can't go wrong. If it doesn't work, just go back to touch up inside and go from there again. And you just want sender. And you leave it ID again. And it'll come up with that action. And by default, if you do it that way, it'll automatically come up in the .m file as well. If you don't and you manually type that out, then you then need to go into File Zone and right click or control click on that. And then this won't be joined. And you'll have to drag it in. So click on the plus button, drag it to the button, and then again select touch up inside. And then you'll have to copy this into the .m file and replace the semicolon with curly brackets like that. Don't do that in the .h though, in the header file. Just do that in the init file. Okay, back to M, and as you can see, it's automatically added that method. So here's where we're going to put all the code to switch screen. So I'm just going to add a comment here by doing the / code to. And although it doesn't seem necessary in this app, if you're creating a bigger app, it's vital because otherwise you won't know where everything is. And I made that mistake with my first big app. I didn't use any comments, and I had to then, a few months later when I was coming up with an update to the app, and it's on the App Store, CFS Health Center, I had to then pretty much add in all the comments, and I had to go through and work out, well, what's that, and trace it backwards, and it took forever. So for a couple of seconds here, it's well worth it. Okay, now go underneath your comment if you've done the comment. What you first need to do is you need to import the second view. So just go import header, and then you want to use your view name here, which in this case is view 2, and then make sure it's the .h file actually, and the .h file because by default the .h file is going to import the .m file. Okay, here you're going to put your code. So I'll call my view 2. Pretty much wherever I write view 2, write the name of your second screen. So view 2, and then we need to give this a name. So I'm just going to write view 2 view, and then equals double square brackets view 2 alloc. You want to allocate it memory, and then go outside that curly bracket, and then init with new name and nil here, lowercase nil, and then once again nil. And use type ahead as I've mentioned before. Okay, so that's allocated the view some space, but now we need to actually do the code to switch the view. So self present modal view controller. And just do this one here, this code. Okay, and here was where we're going to put the name of the view, not the name of the actual view, the name of the view, if that makes sense. So just view. And then animated. This is if you want to animate the view, so when it comes in, maybe slide it in or make a puff of air or something. I'm going to do yes, and this will just set it to the default animation. I can't quite remember what it is, but you'll see when I run the project. And I did do one thing incorrectly, and you should always run the project as soon as you've created it to make sure it works. Otherwise, you might do a whole lot of code, it won't work, you won't know why, you'll think you've got an error and really it's some weird thing to do with the project. So just always run it at the start. I won't do it now though. I'll show you how to do some custom animations in either the next tutorial, maybe tutorial 4 or 5. But it's fairly easy. You can find that code really easily on the internet. Okay, then you're going to go, so that's there. If I run this now, open iOS simulator, take a moment to load. If I run it now, hopefully what will happen is I'll click the button and it'll take me to the second view, and then we can add the code to do the reverse. So here's the iOS simulator. Here's up, go to screen 2, and there's screen 2, so the animation's a swipe up. And if you don't want an animation, just type no, I've typed yes in capitals. And that'll just make it just come up. In view 2, you're going to do pretty much the repeat. So add in the curly brackets. I'm going to go a bit faster here. Drag it in, create an action, pull the action back. And this code's much simpler. Ready for how simple this is? One line, selfDismissModalViewController, and then I'm going to do animated again. That's it. So if I now run this, I'm going to go to screen 2, go back, go to screen 2, go back, go to screen 2, go back, and it won't make a million views. I'll show you what happens. I click go to screen 2, and it's taking me to screen 2. I click back, and it's just closing screen 2. It's not taking me to screen 1, it's just closing screen 2. And let me quickly show you this as well. In fact, I'll show you watch the next tutorial where I'll show you about NSLogging, or logging things, which is great for testing, and it pretty much means that in the output area I can make it say things, so when it switches the screen I can make it say text or say what's just happened. And it's really useful for both when you're learning it, for testing apps, and even if you want to make sure everything's happening in the right order. So watch that next tutorial. It'll be a much briefer tutorial than this. It will just be a quick one on that, and I'll show you how to implement it in this project. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Check out our website, 99centsappdevelopment.com, for more. Be sure to give it a like and subscribe to our channel. That's what keeps us going. And also, please comment on it if you've got any ideas, or comment on it if you've got an idea for a tutorial you want to see. And also, just feel free to contact us through the website if you've got any technical questions. Okay, great. Thanks. Bye.